Hello and welcome back to the Canaries Chat channel. My name's Luke, and as always, I'm here with my co-host Chris, where we'll be talking all things Norwich City. It's been a little while since our last pod. A few games has happened, a lot has happened with all things Norwich, and I think there's a lot to unfold coming into the international break. Chris, how are you, man? How have you been?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, doing good, thank you. Not doing too bad. So, where do we start? Um, God, well, I guess the elephant in the room would be all of the injuries we've had. At the time of recording, Gunn, Sargent, Nunes, McLean on this suspension. It's not looking great, is it?
No, no. And I mean, we saw tweets, didn't we, at the start of the season if we lose Gunn, Nunes, and or Sargent, then we're in a pickle. And unfortunately, all three have happened at once, really. And I think it's maybe just shown a little bit how vulnerable we are with our squad depth, I believe, anyway. But yeah, not amazing time for all three to happen at once. But I still think, I mean, we'll go through it game by game, but I still think some of the performances just still haven't been there, just in regards to like effort and the basics. But yeah, it's a huge issue at the moment, and I think it's clear kind of when we're having Forsyth now come out as a relatively big injury for us when he wasn't starting a few games ago, that how thin on the ground that squad actually is. I think you look at it, it's probably 7 or 8 potential first teamers or squad players now that we've got out. So yeah, it's a tricky patch we're having to navigate at the moment, that's for sure.
Defo. I guess. Well, let's start at Middlesbrough at home. I think the obviously we were at this point we're without Nunes and we're without Gunn. We're without them at this point, and Middlesbrough coming to Carrow Road very, very informed. I think they're actually tipped to go up this season. So it's always going to be a difficult game. Um, so yeah, obviously Gunn not there, Nunes not there. Um, it meant we kind of had the normal front three and Sainz, Sargent, and Cernats. And I think it was Slimani that dropped in deep with McLean. It was it Shortall that started that game, I think.
It might
Um,
be Macondes, I think,
or
that started.
Macondes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a relatively decent squad. I think we started that game, first 20 minutes really well, say 20, that's a bit extreme. First 10 minutes, we really looked really bright. Then, my God, did that just go downhill really quick. I haven't seen a team like that at Carrow Road for a very long time. The way that they counted, the way how quick they were, it was just crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I think it's testament, I think, to Doak as well. He he looks like he should be playing the Premier League. Like he's a very, I don't know. There was just a way that he just carried the ball and just carried. It seemed to just carry the whole of Middlesbrough up the pitch. And I think he's kind of instrumental to that Middlesbrough counter. But I'm with you. I think the way they were playing the triangles were like mentally quick and efficient, and they were passing around our press relatively easily as well. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, they're the best team I think we've seen at Carrow this year, and yeah, I mean, I think we had a good momentum after our goal. Obviously, the first goal then happens. I think we can all say that was a George Long era, and the momentum just switched. And as quick as that momentum switched, it just seemed like the energy, the passing, like team cohesion, just kind of all like got sapped down. Like it was worrying to see, but yeah, it is props to Middlesbrough, as you said. But when a team comes like that to a place which, like, we will say is a fortress, obviously we still ended up getting the result, still unbeaten there for a year. But they came in with real confidence, and it showed. And yeah, it was a worrying time. I think that first half definitely.
Yeah, and I think a good football team is always how you react to them situations. And I thought we reacted brilliantly. Again, Sainz magic in the end there. Getting us. The the draw. And God, how many times we're going to talk about this guy? Absolutely unbelievable. Well, yeah, screamers they were.
Yeah,
The first and the second, and then the third that we got as well was nice. But yeah, it was just just crazy. That game as a whole, the games against Middlesbrough always seem to be a bit nutty at the minute in recent years. But yeah, you know, the draw was good. It meant that they'd gone and beaten there, for a year. But the big question is at what cost? Kenny McLean getting sent off straight red has, I think, turned out to be an absolute massive blow for us. I think
yeah,
people don't quite realise how instrumental he is to that football club and how much he actually brings to us as well. And him getting sent off was a big blow. At the end of the day, he's captain. He's a big voice in that team. And that red is a tough one to take, I think. Obviously, in the moment, I don't think it obviously looked
yeah. I
that
was gonna
bad,
say,
but
yeah,
I think when you watch it back, I think no one can really have any arguments on it whatsoever. Didn't really look like a good challenge. I think it was more of the fact it was like studs up, wasn't it?
yeah, knee
Um,
height as well. I was with you. I don't think I was going ballistic, thinking that weren't a red. And then I saw
yeah,
the replay, and I was like, made myself look a bit silly there. But and I think he's got another game added on now for the remarks he
yellow.
made to the referee.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. After now,
so
this is West Brom as well.
yeah, I think I doubt. Well, the press conference, Nunes and Gunn may be in the running for West Brom, but do you really? I'm not 100% confident they'll be starting. That's for sure. Um,
Yeah,
but
I guess you don't want to rush them back, do you? I guess the logic is, and it seems to be, you take the 3-4 game hit to have them rest of the season. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Which it makes complete sense. Like,
can't
you
be
take the
silly.
hit now rather than risking it. Um,
Definitely
and
agreed.
I think Middlesbrough was a good draw. We're unbeaten there for a year now. Great, fantastic. That's done with. That's not me saying I want us to now go lose, but I think a lot of the games were kind of riding on us going undefeated for a year, wasn't it? That's what
Yeah,
everyone kind of wanted. But yeah, done well to get the draw. Um,
I'd like to point out as
next,
well,
gone.
we got a little bit of abuse for our player ratings on that one. For the George Long player rating, I think we might have gone 6 or 7. Um, and I was hoping, no foreshadowing, I was hoping that that was going to be. I know you had the clanger in the first half, but I was hoping that penalty save was going to be the turning point for that man. And I know people said like his error swung the game into Middlesbrough's hands, which it did. my counterpoint is still that the penalty save
was the reason we got the points.
swung it
100%.
back in our favour, and
100%.
I think that's why he got a higher rating than maybe what that performance actually was. Is that the momentum that it took with us for the final third of the game? Like, without that, we weren't doing it.
I think people got to realise that a 6 and a 7 isn't like a 10 saying he's a man of the match worthy. Like, a 6 or a 7 is average. Like,
slightly
it's not
better than
good.
average.
It's not great. Yeah, like, you know, he fumbled that first goal. It was absolutely terrible, by the way. He should never be doing that. Don't get me wrong. But that penalty save was the reason that we drew that game. And without that, we would have lost, I think. That's 4-1. That's game to bed.
Yeah, 100%.
Marks up for getting the save. Like, and other than the obviously mistake at the start, which obviously led to the goal, I don't think he really done much wrong.
I weren't. Well, my thought. I wasn't too favourable with his positioning for the second goal, but I also think he made about 2 or 3 decent, like half decent saves. So he was probably sitting at a 5, and penalty save boosted up to a 7. I don't think that was unreasonable, but
no.
Yeah, he always seems.
As always, you're entitled to your opinion, aren't you? That's the thing,
Yeah.
People can say what they want. It's all an opinion. It's not meant to be right. It's not meant to be wrong. We say that all the time. It's an opinion, and in our opinion, without that penalty save, that isn't free. And that's game to bed. So, I think a 6/7 is fair on that one.
Definitely.
Defo. So after Middlesbrough, I feel like I do a little bit of like a storytelling here. It's like a story. After Middlesbrough, obviously, we headed to Cardiff, and if you haven't already, watch the vlog up on our YouTube channel. Go to Cardiff. Again, I think Cardiff was always going to be a difficult game to go to. I think if you look at our away record this year, and you notoriously look at our away record, it's not the best. Cardiff are in a bit of form at the moment. New manager after the one that got sacked. They're doing well. So, I think Cardiff is always going to be a difficult ask. So observations from that match for me was obviously, again, so we're now missing McLean, we're now missing Slimani, we're now not got Nunez, we're now not got Sargent, we've now still got not Gunn. It was always that just made that game even harder than it already was. And again, Borja Sainz, what is up with this guy this year? That finish was absolutely unbelievable.
I think I saw
absolutely crazy.
Like, he had this was before Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think I saw somewhere that Connor Southwell said he had it was either 11 or 17% conversion rate or something from outside the box.
Jeez.
Yeah, which is
insane, because if you're all into that XG stuff, like the XG is so much lower from outside the box.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I think it was a 0.03 XG from what I remember. But it's just the way he hits it. Like, I do not know how he generates that power on like a short backlift, but also potentially like normally the inside of his foot. I think the Cardiff one was less so. But normally it's like the inside of his foot. I just don't know.
Yeah, the curlers. Yeah. I think he's that player where he will shoot from outside the box and you automatically think, well, there's a chance here.
Yeah.
Regardless. And
it never normally goes close, does it? It either goes in
or
it's spanked into Rose Edge. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm
1 or 2,
fine.
but
Like,
50% chance.
yeah,
But yeah, I thought Cardiff was so frustrating. Because, we go 1-0 up, early second half, and, we've done really, really well. And we had chances to go 2 up. Stacey, I think, missed a golden opportunity, which was basically an open goal. Cernup missed one that whistled past the post. I think we had a header that we missed as well. And again, I think that's that game done. And, I love Thorpe and what he's done, and I'll back him all the way, and I'll trust the process all the way. But I think this game, unfortunately, he's got to hold his hands up and be like he's got it wrong. I think he brought too many defenders on to try and protect that 1-0 lead, and it just got messy. Especially towards the end, we didn't clear our lines, and we ended up losing it. And, that's the risk you always run when you bring a defender on to protect a 1-0 lead. If they then score, you're fucked, basically. In my
yeah,
eyes, anyway, it's always difficult to then come back. And, it was frustrating because I genuinely do believe that game was there for us to take. And, I think individual errors didn't help. I think, we can all agree that their second goal was Forson just not clearing his lines when he should have.
yeah,
He should have just booted that away. But, I think we're unfortunate with the first. I think it took a big deflection, if I remember rightly. And, it's just stuff like that happens, which really just throw the course of the game. Can you remember last year? I'm not sure if you remember, we played Coventry and David Wagner tried to protect a 1-0 win.
yeah,
Gibson scored a header last minute.
yeah,
Unfortunately, with Norwich City, they're protecting the 1-0s never really seemed to work.
yeah.
But,
I'm not.
it's
It's
it was just frustrating because I think that game was there for the taking. I think we played nice football at spells that game. And I just don't think, unfortunately, the substitutions were the right ones on the day.
yeah. You, you can see his logic behind it. It didn't pay off. I think he'll probably learn from those mistakes that I don't think we're a super good team at protecting leads. Like, we're a better team when we're up and at them.
Yeah.
Ultimately, like, it happens. I don't think it'll be a season defining moment, so I'm not going to worry about it too much.
Definitely
But
not.
yeah,
Agreed.
unfortunately, it does just happen. And yeah, we'll just have to get on with it. I think it was just maybe disappointing that, as you said, we've gone for that setup shop, and the worst case scenario, you should be drawing that game. You should then go on to capitulate after the 89th minute to then go and lose it. But it's a learning experience. I personally don't think we've got. Yes, it sounds horrible, but I think there's a nervousness now. You bring Grant Hanley on, and you've got George Long in goal. I don't think anyone feels comfortable trying to set up shop with players like that who don't breed confidence into the team, or fans. And then when the fans get nervous, that does unfortunately kind of project onto players, even if the players, which I'm sure they do, have full focus on the game and not kind of worrying who's coming on and bits like that. It is just infectious, unfortunately. And yeah, I think it was just the manner of it. It was just. I mean, no one wants to lose a game in extra time, but to go from being 1-0 up in the 89th minute to losing is always going to be a hard one to take, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it was the 89th. I think it was like the 82nd or so when we conceded the first.
Was it?
I don't think it was that. I don't think it was that late. We conceded the.
Yeah, 89th and 93rd.
Oh, was it? Jeez,
Yeah.
even worse then. I think the most frustrating thing for me, but like before we made the subs, we were in complete control of that game. Like they weren't really, inviting us with a lot of pressure, and they weren't really like hammering us on that side of things, and we were fine. And then we made them subs, and they just absolutely hammered us, and they're really pushing for it. And that shouldn't be happening with, like, yes, the pressure is fine, but five at the back, you should be dealing with that comfortably in them situations. But we didn't.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think that's just a learning curve for Thorup. And, you've got to try it, haven't you, to test it and see. But like you said, it didn't work. It didn't pay off, unfortunately. But, it's not going to be a season-defying result, like you said. I'm sure you'll learn from that. And yeah, it's just frustrating. And I will say it. I think, for me even more so, like traveling all the way to Cardiff, leaving at 6 a.m, getting back at like 11 at night, conceding 2 goals in extra time, a game that, we should have just seen off comfortably, with a bit of a kick in the teeth. But, you can't complain. There's football at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just how it is, but there's still that sting factor to it. Still, hurts. And, I was then going in pretty positive to Sheffield Wednesday. But I say positive. I read a stat beforehand. They hadn't lost midweek since 2021. And again, we talk about the games and things. I think Sheffield Wednesday, we got them an extremely tough time. I think the way that it landed against them was just so shit on our part. They got absolutely tonked at home by Watford the week before. Obviously, we then played them. They now got Sheffield United in the Steel City derby at the weekend. Like, after getting battered by Watford, I think Danny Roll has drilled it into them that they got to get points today against Norwich, because it's always going to be a difficult ask getting points against Sheffield United in a derby. Anything can happen. I think this would probably be one of their banker games that they thought, we can get them here. Again, injuries didn't play our part. And I'll go back. I'll go back to your point earlier. There was just nothing there on Tuesday. It was just nothing. And you mentioned it earlier. The confidence on that back line, I don't think has ever been at such a low this season. There's just no confidence at all. And there is silly mistakes, and it just got really depressing.
Yeah, and I you don't want to be like that scapegoat person, but to me, unfortunately, it does stem from the goalie situation, in my opinion. But Thorpe's in a situation now that if he drops long for Mayor, for example, that's long done. Like that you don't come back from that really as a second choice goalkeeper.
No.
But I mean, I personally think it was poor defending on the first goal from the cross. It was
first one,
terrible.
Nothing wrong with that. The first
goal.
one, what, for the first?
Yeah, that's the header, wasn't it? No, that was the ball in behind, wasn't
it? The first goal, we all said in the moment there, that ball in from that Sheffield Wednesday player was unbelievable. It was such a good cross in. It was that one where Long didn't know whether to stay or go, and it caught him off guard. And that isn't his fault. I think a lot of keepers would do that in that situation. That ball was inch perfect, and it was a great finish from their striker. That second one, like I've held my tongue on Long, and I've tried to be pretty conservative with what I've said about him. That there is no excuse for that as a goalkeeper. You can't let that happen.
But this is what I mean. Like, it comes from the actual save is horrific, but the actual defender I don't think is much better. But I think because the defence don't have the confidence in the keeper of like he will either just come out and clear it, it will just go through me, go through whoever to come and get it, or that you 100% know that if he stays on his line that 80, 90, 95% of the time he saves him, you have that confidence. There's just then no like, well, what do I do here?
100% Gunn is going out to punch that ball out. 100% all day long. He's going through Duffy's head and punching that out.
But he's just not super commanding around his boxes. It's just.
Well, he's a completely different goalkeeper. They're two completely different styles of goalkeeper. I don't think I've seen George Long punch a ball from across or anything once.
Yeah.
And they're two completely different style keepers.
I just don't know, like, from Thoreau's point of view now, it's like, obviously, number one, you want to be winning games, and also you want to be protecting your players. I know there's no coming back if you drop a second choice goalie for a third, like an academy player. But at what point does it become like nearly, sounds horrible, cruel to play in? Because he's clearly struggling at the moment. Imagine another mistake on Saturday. Like
I'll be honest.
I just think it's unfair to play him. Like, I genuinely like. I don't like the mistakes he's playing. That's happening. Right? I'm not one for overly like giving abuse to. Like, I'd never be like super verbal in a stadium. Like at home, that's a different thing. But like super verbal, giving abuse to players in the stadium. If people do that, that's up to them. That don't bother me. But I do just think like if he has another error, the amount of toxicity that is going to come from the crowd, like I just don't even think that's fair on him.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree. Yeah. I do just think we. Again, I don't.
It's a tricky one,
It's not tricky. I don't like criticizing players. I'm not about that. I don't. Yeah, but I think. How do I put this? I think factually and stats wise, he's cost us a lot of points.
He's poor, yeah.
And that's not me, criticizing him. Factually, he's cost us a lot of points this season. I think we're like second or third or even top in the league for most points dropped from winning positions this season so far, and that's a big concern.
I also saw that he's the third statistically, like XG prevented. He's like the third worst in the league for over 5 games, but that does also include saving that penalty. So if he hadn't saved that penalty, I know there's ifs and buts, he would have been comfortably top as well.
I think he won't do it, and I know he won't. But I personally think you drop him at the weekend. I think we're in that limbo of you can't get much worse, and that sounds really harsh, but I don't think you can get much worse than how it has been. From the points that we've lost, it's difficult, and I don't think the back line the last couple games have been on it. I don't think that they've been entirely great. I think the team. I get we've got injuries, but the back line's still been the same, right? Like we've got injuries. The back line's the same regardless. They look like a completely different back four to the back four that we saw 5-6 games ago.
Yeah,
They just
but
playing,
what does that coincide with?
Yeah, I know, but that's not just on him. Like that's not like it can't be the pure singular reason why they're not performing well. I think that's a bit extreme, but
no, it's not the sole reason, but it's the confidence that Gunn breathed into everyone. But no, it's not most definitely not the sole reason. But I do just think we're now at a crossroads where it's like, at what point, like, personally, I think Thorpe's already had criticism over still starting on. If he then goes again, drops another howler, I think the criticism ramps up. Because at some point, right, it sounds horrible, but if a goalkeeper is not up to the quality, so like he's all right for one game or whatever, standing game, but if he's not up to consistent quality, that's not his fault. It sounds silly to say that that's not his fault if he's not cutting the mustard. It's the manager choosing him or sees him as the only option. But surely at this point it's worth just seeing if Mayor can. It's not like Mayor hasn't played any games at all. He was in that playoff final for Notts County and won a penalty shootout for him. Like, it's not like he hasn't played a lot of games in the men's game because he helped get Notts County promoted.
Well, I personally think Mayor is the best option right now. He's a young goalkeeper with something to prove. He'd probably play his absolute guts off.
I mean, if we could call Reyes back, I think we'd probably just do that. But I do think we can.
Unfortunately, Reyes isn't there, is he? But you know, Mayor, I just think would play his absolute heart out if he was with us. And you know, it's one. Unfortunately, I think it would just be the one game because Gunn would probably be back after the international break. But I know you probably know what you get for that one game. You probably got a young goalkeeper there who wants to prove a point. You know, and as I said, you can't get much worse than how it has been. Like statistically, you can't get much worse than how it has been. You just take a punt. But as I said, that aside, across the board, on Tuesday, it was just poor.
I'll tell you what, a player who I think has gone a little bit under the radar for the last 4 or 5 games for their performances, Doyle. I think he's not hit those heights that he was in the first few games. Like he's still playing all right, but maybe we were just treated too nicely at the start of the season. But I don't know.
He hasn't played to his potential. No, you're right. But what really annoys me is everyone loving Doyle. You're going, yeah, he's great. I want to keep him. I want to keep him. You know, I want to buy him. He's his best player we've had in ages. We've got another skip. You know, he's playing left back whilst this is going on. Now he hasn't had a few performances. You know, the way that like everyone now going, oh, he's not a left back. He should be playing centre back. Oh, you know, he should be playing centre back. Like, we can't have 2 left-sided centre backs. He's done it like. Because he's just had a bad couple of games, everyone's now saying he's not a left back.
No,
but you're fine with it. You're fine with it the first 5-6 games when he was scoring goals for us, dropping 8, 9 out of 10 performances each week. But now you've got an issue with it because he's had a bad couple of games. Like
he provides a lot of left back, personally. Like his pass, I think his passing can be utilised quite nicely at left back, down the channels, diagonally, and bits like that. Just thought the last few.
You got to think like he's had a few couple games, right? Everyone's now like criticising how slow he is, apparently, and saying he's not a left back. He should be a centre back. And you know, I just think one, that's ridiculous. Yes, he probably is a good centre back. We know that, but you can't now say that because of a poor string of games, like 2 or 3. Like it's not like he's been really, really bad. He's
Oh
just
no,
not
no.
been as good as he has been.
I
But
think that's why it's more recognisable. Is as you
that's what I
say,
mean.
he's
You
gone
set a
from
standard,
dropping
don't
8
you?
and 9s to then dropping 6s and 7s. There's a lot more recognisable that if you drop
But
the occasional 8 and you
I
go the
think
occasional 6, like for example.
the big issue was Doak for Middlesbrough. Like
Yeah, he was
he
shit.
had him on. He just absolutely done him. Like, and that I think he's going to go far. Doak, he'll go really far in his career. But he's a very
He would have cooked kind of any left back in the league. Never mind. Well, even probably Premier League. I'm not being funny. Like he would have had most of them on absolute toast. The form that he brought to Carrow Road. So I think you can't just judge the Doyle performances overall just on that Middlesbrough game. That's for sure. But yeah, the last few he's dropped off ever so slightly. But
you got to think, right? He doesn't have gun behind him. He doesn't have the Nunez and McLean in front of him as well.
I think you're spot on. I think that's exactly it. Actually, like we're so good with the triangles, or we were so good with the triangles. We've now lost. Personally, we've now lost that. In my opinion, with Kenny and Nunez, you don't really have that person that just comes in and always is showing for the ball. And Doyle liked those little drilled passes to the inside, and then those passes would then go back out to the likes of Sainz and bits like that. So, yeah, no, I think that's a very, very good point, actually. But,
and the injury crisis is awful. Don't get me wrong; it's tough at the moment, and it's not ideal, but you got to deal with what you've got, and Thorpe is doing that. And what I really struggle with, and I always will, is they Sheffield Wednesday, I'm on about, had 30% possession that game, and they had 1.5 xg. I don't really care about xg, but they had 30% and accumulated 1.5 xg, scored 2 goals. They had 70% possession and accumulated 0.2 xg. And I think, to me, it just shows that football is one, evolved these days, because that's absolutely nuts. But 2, like, possession means absolutely nothing if you could do nothing with it.
Great.
Like, and I feel like we're kind of in that at the moment. We're just like we're keeping the ball, we're playing it around, we're zipping it around, we're doing well, but we just don't do anything with it. Like,
yeah, and I think
and
when
Sheffield
you're
Wednesday
missing,
was a prime example.
I think when you're missing your actual whole starting midfield of Slimani, Nunez, and Clean, I think unfortunately that's going to happen, isn't it? But yeah, I just think
100%.
I just felt like Tuesday was just a bit. It didn't even really feel like we had the effort there, and I think that was just a bit demoralising, a bit. But again, we're going through a tricky period. The one thing I don't understand, right, is people saying that Thorpe has no plan B. I have zero
Silly.
idea where this has come from. Like, he's literally used plan B, i.e. Cardiff. It maybe didn't work, but
It's plan B, though.
he used a plan B. And people are like, he's got no plan. Like, honestly,
he's got a crap hand of cards at the moment, doesn't he? Like, so many injuries, it doesn't help. And Macondes, I think we signed as a replacement for Hernandez left wing. He's having to drop in a CDM at the moment. We've had to put Sorensen straight back in that team from injury for a while because we're just so short on CDMs at the moment. Cernat's had to obviously go up top. Schwartau, bless him, I think has played right wing, cam, striker, CDM. You know, and unfortunately, we all know in football, you know, if you've got a team that's unsettled that aren't playing in their position and it's changing, you can't get that kind of consistency. I think you are going to struggle. But that is just how it is. And you know, Cardiff, I'm gutted. I think he got it wrong. With the tactics, personally, and the subs, fair enough. Like, you know, we were winning. He got it wrong. Like, simple as that. Sheffield Wednesday on the hand, there was just nothing there, and that does like frustrate me. Is it the run of games? You know, they've played a lot recently. I know they're footballers. I get that, but you know, is it the mad run of games that they had in such a short period of time? But that brings me to my last point is, if we're going to make subs in a game, you know, towards the end, why aren't we protecting players like Sainz? Like, we're 2-0 down. Like, we've got one more game for the international break. Surely, in my eyes, you take your big hitters in a game like Sheffield Wednesday from the 70th minute and just try and protect them at all costs, and rather than keep them on. Surely you take Sainz off at like 70 minutes or so to just rest them for the next game and protect them. I don't know what your views are on that, but obviously nothing happened from it. But in my eyes, surely you just get some of the youngsters on just for minutes, like 20 minutes, just get them that experience out there. I'll be honest, like, from 70 minutes in that Sheffield Wednesday game, that game was only going one way, and that was Sheffield Wednesday. That was apparent. And in my opinion, you just get the youngsters on for 20 minutes, rest the players you need for Saturday, and you know, give them the minutes.
I do get that, but I do think if he had just kind of taken Sainz off, as you said, born a youngster or something like that, I think there would have been also a large proportion of fan base going, well, you're not now even trying to win it because you're taking off our top goal scorer when we need a goal to change the game. I think he's in a bit.
We're never winning that game though, but that I think that's exactly our point that we go on about, is about people just not understanding football. I think any fan that understands football is more than that. Do you know what I mean?
That game in front of you.
Like, people
I think
have
he's
that
in
opinion,
a lose-lose.
but I don't think it'd be the right one.
I think he's in a lose-lose personally, because I would have
That's what I mean.
said,
like
15, 10 minutes or whatever. Yeah, let's just get Sainz off. We'll keep him for the rest of the season so he don't get his leg broken on this game. Others would say, well, you need that goal to turn and he can produce something from nothing. It's a lose. As a football manager, you're never going to make everyone happy at the end of the day. So it's a fine.
I 100% agree. No one's ever going to be happy. You know, it literally football, right? This is just football as a whole, and Norwich as a whole. We literally beat Hull 4-0, and that was overshadowed by some chanting over a former player. Like, no one's ever happy, even with a convincing win. Like, that is it. I mean, that is football. That is how it is, like you say. But I personally, like you say, it's a lose-lose. People have different opinions, but I personally believe that someone, a youngster especially, should have probably come on that kind of last 20 minutes or so, and you know, I just think as well, it's just a chance for them to prove themselves, isn't it? Like, you know, even in that little period, like, it's a chance for them to prove themselves. Go out there, you got 20 minutes, show us what you got. at the grand stage, whilst also protecting the player that we need in Sainz as well. But again, we can keep going on about this all day. It's just how it is. Unfortunately, nothing happened to him. Fortunately, but it would be good to see some youngsters. I think get a little cameo in there, and rest Sainz up. But yeah, I think we're now winless in 6
I think,
to 5 or
but
6.
I think it's that, but I think we've also only lost 2 in 9 or something. So
2 and 9, but winless in 6. So how do you take it?
Yeah, so we're winless in 5.
6, 5, 5, and yeah.
But yeah, we've lost 2 of our last 9, but those 2 have come back to back. So it's kind of
we were undefeated in 7.
Yeah,
and now we're winless in 6. 5, sorry.
Yeah. So
what?
It's a treat. What I would say though, and just provide a little bit of balance, right? The fixtures have been mentally weird for us. Okay, so we had Stoke, right, away. We then had Preston, a long journey midweek. We then had a Sunday home game, and then we had Cardiff away, and then Sheffield Wednesday midweek. We've had four out of our last 5 games have been away games, and 2 of them have been midweek, which we're notoriously absolutely horrific at. So, not taking the whole voodoo into account, 4 out of 5 away games. 4 out of our last 5 games being away games. Yes, we've only come away with 3 points from a possible 15. But again, simple things. You convert that Cardiff game into a win, and then we're looking at 6 points from 15, 4 of those being away games. A good comeback against Middlesbrough, a good comeback against Preston, maybe when we shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place. A honky performance against Sheffield Wednesday, that suddenly starts looking a little bit better. We're sitting just outside the playoffs. Ultimately, we're still only 4 points off the playoffs. I think it's like something. I think it's something ridiculous, like 8 points.
We're 4 points off playoffs, but on the other hand, we're 3 points off relegation.
Yeah. 7 points separate 22nd and 5th, which is crazy.
Again, I don't performances haven't helped, but I think as it's quite apparent from what you said, this league is just nuts.
Yeah.
You can look at it both ways. We're actually closer to relegation than we are, promotion. But we're 14 games in.
We've got some tricky away games out of the way. I don't think we actually have a favourable return where we play 4 games at home out of 5. I don't think we've got that down the line.
Well, if we look at our fixtures, we've got a nice hand of fixtures, I think. Then it does start to get tough. We've got Bristol City, which will be tough, and West Brom. But we then got 4 games. We've got Plymouth at home, Luton at home, QPR away, Portsmouth away. You look at them 4, and they are the lower half of the table at the moment. Portsmouth, we should be winning. QPR, we should be winning. Plymouth, we should be winning. And obviously Luton, they're not doing very well at the moment. You'd like to think we'd win that. We've then got Burnley, Sunderland, Millwall. Those 3 games are extremely difficult. Sunderland are absolutely flying at the moment. Burnley are doing well, and Millwall are doing fantastic at the minute as well. I think since Neil Harris got appointed again as Millwall manager, I read a stat, no team have picked up more points in the Championship than Millwall.
Yeah.
They're doing very well. And, I think if you're you want to win every game, right? But I'm sure as a football manager, Thorpe will be looking at Plymouth, Luton, QPR, Portsmouth, and being like, look, well, that's where we get our points.
And realistically, Plymouth game should be when we have comfortably Nunes and Gunn back.
Well, yeah, we have all them back at that
and
point.
Kenny.
Everyone, yeah.
So yeah,
Basically, other than well, I don't know. Sarge could still be there.
It's 8
No,
weeks, I think Sarge is out. So.
7 to 8 weeks, is it? What's that? Middle of December, roughly.
Yeah, the end of probably start of January into December. But
yeah, okay, maybe we wouldn't have Sarge then, but everyone else would basically have.
We do have going into 2025 Luton, Coventry, Sheffield United, Leeds. So if he's back for then, I'll take it.
Can we yeah, just a sidetrack quickly. Non-Norwich news. How nuts is it that Mark Robbins has been sacked as Coventry manager?
Crazy. I know that. So we reacted to it. I had a couple of Coventry fans say, "Well, I think I said it was like 7 points off playoffs, blah blah," and their point was like, "Yeah, well, there we go. It was 7 points off the playoffs, and we're only outside of the relegation." But I'm 99% sure Coventry normally always have a slow start. I thought they'd enjoy it. And don't get me wrong, they've spent a bit of money, but money doesn't mean success. And I would have thought Robbins has built up enough cash in the bank now to like have a poor start and allow him until January to get him out of it. But,
well, he's the longest serving manager in the NFL at the minute, isn't he?
Well,
he was, yeah. And you know, football's weird because you spend money, but it still takes time for a team to gel. Doesn't just because they're good and you spend money doesn't mean that it's just going to be instant. You look at some of the players we've got. It took Sarah a little bit of time. It took Emmy a little bit of time. It took Pookie a little bit of time. Sainz, it took him a while. Sargent took him a while. Nunes. It takes a while to gel the players to their full ability. And I just can't believe he's been sacked. I just think it's absolutely nuts. But yeah. Anyway, back to Norwich. Bristol City, Saturday. It's going to be a very, very tough game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not filling me full of confidence.
They're 11th, we're 12th.
Yeah, they
lost last minute to Sheffield United on Tuesday. But before that game, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, they were undefeated in 8, winning 3, drawing 5. So in the last 10 games, they've lost 2.
But not like
kind of. Well, they're on 19 points. We're on 18.
Yeah.
They've got a -1 goal difference. We've got a +3. They're like you say, they're very, very similar to how we've been basically. But we say it nearly every pod. Carrow Road is a fortress. It's extremely tough for teams to come to Norwich and get points.
Do you reckon we now just lose? We've got a year. We go.
Well, we've got to lose at one point, right? It's gonna happen at some point. But like we say, Carrow is a fortress, and I don't think it's a coincidence, right? You look at Middlesbrough, half time, everyone thought that was done. But after that penalty save, everyone kind of woke up a bit and think, okay, something could happen here. It's weird, right? It's weird how it works because 3-1 at half time, everyone's booing, that's done. But a penalty save at 3-1 and exactly the same scoreline, everyone then gets up and goes, we can win. But there wasn't that in the first half. But it's probably due to the momentum and the penalty save. And look, we came back and got the points we needed to. But it's difficult for teams to come to Carrow Road and get the points. That is a given. But I'm just really, really worried with the squad depth. In what we've got, it is worrying. And the Bristol City, like we said, are in a good run of form at the moment. They're They're doing well. I don't know. I think it's going to be so difficult. We've got to set up right from the start. Those defenders they just all got to play with confidence. But would you make any changes to the team going into the Saturday? I know we've obviously potentially spoke about Mayor going in goal and so long, but would you make any other kind of changes? What are you thinking?
I don't think we've really got the options to make changes. I don't think Gordon overly impressed in his first start, but I have liked him coming off the bench. But again, it's like our options is really forcing. And you can push Short out a bit further out potentially.
Well, again, I'm not a
Fisher's
football
in the middle.
manager. They're in training each week. They see it firsthand. As a fan, what I would like to see is Fisher in the CDM for a game and Stacey go right back next to Sorensen, because I think Macondes has done well. He's done extremely well in that position. For playing there is difficult, and he's done well, but I think we've all seen what Fisher can bring in that CDM role.
Yeah.
And
I
we've seen it firsthand. He's good there.
wouldn't be against it. Wouldn't be against, as you said. I think Marcondes has done really well and plugged that gap. Like, just think of the situation we would have been in if we hadn't assigned Marcondes.
Yeah.
So I think he's done well. Yeah, as you said, potentially an opportunity to push him further forward. Then if we bring in Fisher, which isn't, I'm not against it. I think Jack Stacey is more than a capable right back at this level. So I think if it was down to me, that's what I'd do. Do I think that's what he'll do? No, I think he'll probably be
Macondes,
unchanged.
Swanson still. Yeah, I just in my eyes, I'm like, look, it is one last game before the international break.
Just try something different.
Just give it one final kind of roll of the dice, so that you kind of back to normal, really. After that, like just give it one kind of go, and I'd like to see Fisher again. We're talking one game here. Fisher one game as a full CDM. I'd like to see. You can put Stacey right back. That's fine. You can keep Cordoba, Duffy, Doyle. Fine. Stacey and Sorensen in the middle. Cracking. I think that'd be great if we saw that. Again at the top, it kind of does really speak for itself. Sainz is always going to be left wing. You're always going to have Cerner up top in that replacement. The real kind of tough point comes from the right wing and Shortall. But Marcondes can play in the wing. He can play cam. And Shortall is exactly the same. So my logic kind of goes having to one of them on the wing, one of them can, with Fisher and Sorensen in the middle. But like I said, you just don't know how players are in training or what they're thinking. They probably see a completely different side to it than we actually do. All we see is face value of 90 minutes of a game each week. It's difficult, but that's what I'd like to see. But like you said, I don't think that would probably happen. I think it probably will be unchanged, but yeah, I think for me, I just like to see something different, because something isn't working these last couple of games, is it? I think it's apparent. And, I think Norwich fans as a collective appreciate. I think Norwich fans appreciate managers being reactive to situations where it isn't going as well, and giving it a go, doing something else.
No, I agree. I think it's a roll of dice we can, I think, now afford to make with with that break coming and hopefully a little bit more normality around the corner. What are your predictions for Bristol?
I I think we're gonna get a draw.
I think 1-0.
I can't see us winning. But weirdly, I can't see them winning either.
I can see the fans dragging them over the line, but yeah, I can't see any more than a draw, unfortunately. But the one other thing I wanted to mention just before,
I think Thorpe's just got to be kind of.
Go for it. No, you go.
Well, I was just say, like, I think Thorpe's just got to kind of be the mentality of like, it's just one more game before the break.
Yeah, last roll
it's
of
just
dice.
one final game. Like, let's really push for us here, get the 3 points. Go in. Like, I'll be honest. Norwich, again, I think as a fan base, Norwich fans are quick to forget. And I think, we get 3 points going into that international break. I think the last two are kind of forgotten about almost. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of like, we're going to a break, we're on our way up kind of thing. Like, it's a great time to get the points where needed. And like I say, I just think it's one kind of last roll of the dice to try and get the points. But yeah, what are you going to say, mate?
I was just going to say I'd seen a couple of things. Just wanted your quick opinion on it.
Go.
The Borja Sainz versus Buendia.
Yeah, I had this conversation in the car. There's no argument to this. I cannot believe they're even in the same category. Emi Buendia is miles ahead and will always be miles ahead of Borja Sainz. But also as well, they're two completely different players. Just two completely different players. Yeah, I don't think they're really comparable in all honesty. But I think quality-wise, Buendia was just an absolute joke of a football player that probably is the best that we've seen and we will see in recent times.
Yeah, no, agreed. I was just interested to hear your opinion. I actually think finishing wise, Borja is better, but I just think everything else, and we did stuff with the ball that we can't even.
Well, we were speaking about this on the way up to Sheffield Wednesday. The four main hitters Norwich have had in recent years are Emmy, Sarah, Madison, and now Sainz, right? If I had to put them as a four, I would go Emmy, Sarah, Madison, Sainz.
Yeah. I think
a lot of people can agree to that.
Yeah, I think there is an argument that Sainz can work his way up potentially to behind Sarah. Depends how long he's here for. I think that's the thing with Madison is like him being top quality as a season basically.
Yeah.
But
that's why Sarah trumps it as second. He done it for more than 1 year and he was just a joke.
Yeah, and Emmy is just Emmy. But it's
yeah,
that's
Emmy
a good one
Emmy.
actually. Might put that out on X, those four, and see what people say. But
because they're all kind of like calm CMs, aren't they? Really, other than Sainz. But it's like obviously you talk about like Pookie, for example, who was just a joke, but he's a striker, completely different category. But they're relatively kind of the same. Them 3-4.
Yeah, it's maybe one we'll put out there. See what people say. But yeah, as you said, get through Bristol. It's just about hanging on now. Get through Bristol, get a few lads back, and then we go again after the international break.
Yeah, agreed. Fingers crossed nothing happens on too dramatic on Saturday injury-wise. The injuries are a part of football. It is what it is, unfortunately, and it's just about, do you have the squad to kind of manage with the injuries? And you know,
At the moment,
I
we don't.
I got a question for you, and like it's going to be controversial because I think I saw it next as well. I'm in the same boat. Do you think now we have to get rid of Sargent at the end of the year and just cash in? We can't, in my eyes, we can't keep carrying on every year having a striker that will be out for a
Is
month, 2 months in the
the
middle of the year. You need consistency.
is that the issue, or is the issue that we also don't have a decent backup as of yet? Cernat may turn out to be that, but at this point in time, Cernat to me seems a bit more to be. We get more out of him on the right hand side. Um, I think
Yeah,
if you
but
have
I
a
think the point
very
is he's
good
been injured
backup,
for the last 3 years.
but I still think if you have a very good backup, you obviously then don't see the drop off as much, and you can reap the rewards of when he is fit and he is the best striker in the championship. You can reap those rewards, and it's less. Obviously, it's going to be less effective if you've then got someone who's not as good, but just slightly worse. Um, I think it's always going to be tricky. It also depends on the money. Like if you get offered
Okay,
7 to 10
20
million
million,
for them, you'd probably
20
say
million.
no. 20 million, I'd say yes.
We got offered 20 million in the summer
Yeah, if 20
from
million
that
came sniffing,
US team.
if 20 million came sniffing, I'd personally say yes, and we'd just have to back Napa to
I just
spend it
can't.
quickly.
I just don't think it can continue.
Yeah,
Like, unfortunately, I get your point. You should have a good backup striker where you shouldn't really see a difference. But I think is that where we've gone wrong? We've got Barnes who's been injured for nearly a year now. We've got rid of Ida who went. We brought Cerna in, but he's been playing on the right. He hasn't actually played up top at all this season. He's now being forced to play in that position. Like, it's weird because it seemed at the start of the year when it was going well, we did have that good squad depth, but now we've got the players that are injured in certain positions. It looks like we're now really thin on the ground.
yeah.
And who actually is our backup striker to Sargent? Like, I guess it would
Cernat
be
now, isn't it?
Barnes,
Well,
but
yeah,
no,
Barnes
it's
if he's
Cernat
fit.
now, but he's been playing on the right all season. Like, he preferably a right winger that can go into striker if needs be. But our actual backup would be Barnes, wouldn't it? Who was injured. We
Yeah. If
put
there was no
Ken
injuries, it'd be Barnes.
we put Ken Abo out on loan as well, and we're not recalling him.
Yeah, well, I don't think we
But
can, to be fair, until
well,
January.
we can't recall him because he's on loan, and there's an obligation to get that. But I just don't think every year you can have your main striker being out for 6 to 8 weeks at a time. I just
Yeah,
don't think that works in a setup. I just don't think that can keep happening. And the same happened last year, didn't it?
yeah,
Around Christmas time, I think with Wagner, I think Sargent got injured at the kind of like the start, didn't he? Over the Christmas period, didn't come back, and we suffered quite a bit.
yeah. No,
He's
it's
so
a fair
important to
point.
that team. Like, I just think you need consistency of an out-and-out striker that's gonna play every week, like Pookie. He had he had one injury where he was out for like 2-3 games, I think,
Yeah, it was something
in
like
the
that.
Prem. Other than that, he played every single week,
Mr. Consistent.
literally. And I just think you need a striker that can do that. Is the championship too much for Sargent? Like, he is
Or
very
does he
injury
need to
prone.
be
Is
game
46
managed?
games too much?
That's the other option. Does he need to be game managed better, and he can't play 70, 80 minutes every game? He'll have to play. We got to that stage with like Tetty and Wes, didn't we? Where it's like
He's young. That's the issue. He's young. He should be at the peak. He shouldn't be getting it. Like, as a genuine question, it's not me like taking a dig or anything. Like, I think he's had a spell out injured every single season he's played for us. He's still young. Is the English game a bit the amount of games played a bit too challenging on his body? Like, has he got an underlying issue with his body?
Yeah, no, it's a tricky one. People should leave a comment down below, like, on their thoughts on that.
Yeah, I just think we need to get a new striker in personally. Cash in where we can. He's got a big contract. Get 15, 20 million. Like, you know, I probably read between the lines. We've got the new owners coming in now. A lot of the money that we actually get from transfers will be put back into transfers now. Is how I read it. You know, we're getting the money from Rowe next year. We've probably got instalments from Sarah still coming in. We're still, you know, got
Ida.
You know, I think, have we got anything from Zolis? I think that's done with now.
There'll be like instalments on nearly all of them soon.
But yeah, like, you know, I think some players are out their contract as well, which will release, you know, some of the wages and, you know, get the money in for Sargent. I think we've got a good amount to play with there. But I get the argument. On his day, Sargent is probably the best striker in the championship.
Yeah,
there's no denying that. I get that. So, do you take the 8-week hit for the quality that he then brings to the rest of the games?
Yeah, for me,
I get that.
You do, but you have to have a good backup plan as well. Personally speaking, which I think is what we're lacking a little bit of now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear people's thoughts on that.
Do you think Sainz goes in the summer?
Only for the right price.
You think?
Which I think is 25 plus. I think if anything over 25 plus came in, we'd sell because we have to. I think.
Why do we have to?
Because I think we'll need a rough sale if they can bank that money, that's the club secured for a couple of years. I know we've got money coming in next year because of Rowe, but I think
that is a good 10 million, by the way.
Yeah, but I think they'd still take a bigger pot of money to reinvest and be okay in the championship potentially for a couple more years. I think if it's 25 plus, they accept. I think anything less than 25 million, he's worth more than that to us because of getting promoted, and we'd get obviously a lot more money if we got promoted.
Do you think we're out of that rigmarole now, though? That obviously we've now got new owners. Do you think we'll finally start to see that start to change and us actually offer players like Sainz new contracts on a bit more money rather than just selling them for their market value? Or, you know,
I don't personally. I think we have a stronger hand now when we go into negotiations, but I think fundamentally nothing's changed. That we'll still sell. I think we'll reinvest more when we do sell, but I think we'll still sell mainly to generate funds for player purchases. The Antinazios aren't going to bankroll us and bits like that because they didn't do that with the Brewers. But what they do is they bring in the right people to help run the club, and they help reinvest money into the club. And I think that's what will happen. The money will be reinvested to bump the club up rather than the money being there to keep us surviving. So I do think, though, for a club like us, 25 million, you're going to accept it.
Yeah, I think unfortunately this year we needed the money, didn't we, to stay afloat, basically. And I think we definitely could have got more for Sarah with the quality that he has, but we had to sell, unfortunately. I'm looking at Sainz now. His contract runs out June 30th, 2026. So you know, he'd have, 1 year left in his contract in the summer. So,
I'm sure you wouldn't look at it like that. I think we've got an option to extend.
well, you know,
I
I think it's difficult without getting too technical and directory. I think you either offer him a new contract now and obviously hope that bumps the price up a little bit at him, or you probably then get a little bit less because he's on a less contract and cash in a year or so.
Yeah, contracts are fine line to balance, isn't it? Because if you give him a new contract, the chances are he'd want a release clause put in there to guarantee that he could move away, and he'd want it to be a realistic one, which would probably be 20 to 25 million. Or you take the gamble and you could potentially get a little bit more for him, but if he then breaks his leg for whatever reason, he might not play for a season, then someone can pick him up on a free. So
yeah, no, I agree. You know, whatever happens, it's you know, it always works out. And like we said before, Madison goes, oh, what are we going to do? Oh, we then get Buendia in. Oh, no, Buendia's gone. What are we do now? Oh, we then got Sarah in. Oh, Sarah's gone. What are we do now? We've got Sainz. Like, there's always that player, isn't there, for Norwich? Which is good. But yeah, on to Bristol City Saturday. Let's hope the boys come away with 3 points before the international break. If you haven't already, give our vlogs and videos a little look on YouTube. And there'll be a vlog coming on Saturday for the Bristol City at home game. I have exclusive purchase tickets to QPR and Portsmouth away, so vlogs on them 2 games as well, which is exciting. But as always, give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe on YouTube if you can. Chris, anything from you, my man?
No. As I said, the support on the vlogs has been amazing so far. So yeah, just make sure you like and subscribe, and you can see all the new ones that are coming around the corner.
Ditto, mate. Ditto. But yeah, hopefully you've all enjoyed. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.